Hello Capricorn, and welcome to Misfits of the Zodiac. This is my very first reading on this channel for you. I'm very excited to be starting this channel. If this resonates with you, I would love to get your subscribe to help grow the channel. Let's start with some introductions. My name is Ace, and I'm going to be working with the Green Witch Tarot. I just want to let you know that there may be some witchy speakings throughout this because I am a practicing witch, so if that makes you uncomfortable, this is probably not the channel for you. If you hear some noises, you might be hearing my next door neighbors are doing dishes, but that's okay. I just wanted to give you the heads up if you're wondering what that noise is. They should be hopefully done here soon. But I'm going to be working with the Green Witch Tarot, and then we might pull some stuff at the very end, which I've noticed I need to actually... Some of them got a little disheveled because I was moving some stuff. So we're going to pull from one of these at the very end to kind of sum up everything. And before we get started, I like to do meditation just before I start a reading and see if there's like any downloads that I get before I start that kind of tie into the overall reading. So that's what we're going to start with. So the first thing that I got was actually a really cool image. It was a broom that was sweeping up dust, but it was fairy dust, like it was glowing. I know for the witch community, we look at cleansing as a very important act, and the idea of sweeping out old energies brings in new and allows you to create new by getting rid of old stagnant energy or any negative energy. And you can do that simply just by sweeping in your house. But the vibe to me was you're creating something magical potentially and cleansing your space, and whatever works for you, however that looks for you, might be something really beneficial for bringing in magic in the month of July. I also saw a cornucopia that was full of fruit. So I've been getting a lot of this with a couple of different readings that I've been doing for the month of July. There seems to be this element of harvest that keeps popping up. Again, in the witch community, we just celebrated summer solstice, which is Litha. It's the middle of summer, the peak of summer. It's like when everything is ripe and enjoying starting the beginning of enjoying the fruits of our labor, because we're about to head into harvest season in August. So I kind of feel like your energy is tying into that. And so taking time to enjoy some local fruit, taking time to be in the vibe of enjoying the fruits of your labor is what I was getting. You might have just finished a project. You might have just finished something you've been working on for a really long time, and you're starting to see the fruits of that labor. Take time to congratulate yourself. You've come a long way. So take the time to enjoy that and not get so consumed with on to the next, right? So the last thing that I got for you, and the reason I have this little beauty on the table, is I saw in rainbow aura quartz, and I just happen to have one at the house. It stays really close to my bed. I'm in the queer community, and it's just a representation for me of joy, balance, balancing the chakras if you work with the chakras, Kundalini energy if you know what that is about. If not, I suggest maybe checking that out. But more than anything, it just has this like very joyful, like childlike kind of magic about it. So I think that either I'm going to have it out for your reading to kind of channel anything that's coming from that energy. But if you happen to work with crystals, or if you've been thinking about dabbling, this might be your indication to maybe try that out. Obviously use your own discretion. There are crystals that you have to be really careful with, like if you get them wet, or if you, some people put them in water and stuff and drink it. I don't ever recommend that. But just working with them, obviously you need to like look into it before you're working with any crystals. But I love using this particular crystal. I don't know, it just has a lot of high vibration to it. And like I said, it helps you align all of your chakras. So if you're feeling like you need a little bit of balance, it can help kick that into high gear if you need that. So we'll leave that little beauty out while we're doing your reading. Maybe he just wanted to be present for your reading, so we're going to have him out. But if you are feeling like you might want to dabble in playing with some rocks, I highly recommend it because it's a fun one. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cleanse your energy, cleanse the space with some sound. You can do this as well. I use sound because I'm a musician, so music and sound just moves energy for me personally, and you got to do what works for you ultimately. But it could be as simple as that, like just moving the energy. Again, what we were talking about with the broom. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Green Witch, and then we're going to potentially move to an Oracle. I'll clarify with my Crow Tarot if we need to. So far I haven't needed to use that, but he's out just in case. While I'm pulling your cards, I do want to make mention that I'm an intuitive reader. I don't have like a set structure to the way that I pull cards. I just pull cards that intuitively feel right to me. What pops out, and then I go until I feel like I'm done, if that makes sense. That typically looks like 8 to 10 cards. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little less. It seems like with the July reading so far, all of the signs have had this like top layer and an underlying layer, and they've had different meanings depending. And then sometimes I'll have one or two cards at the bottom or one or two at the top that kind of like, sometimes are overall energies of the month. Sometimes they are clarifying some things, and sometimes they're just kind of like wrapping things up. It just depends, and I'll let you know what they mean as we go. Checking to make sure this is right. This feels right. Okay, so we're gonna put that one first, and then this one, and then this one feels like it's supposed to be here. So yeah, I'm just gonna go until it feels like I need to stop, and then we'll start going through them. And we'll finish off with an oracle. I'm really excited to be doing this channel. I've been thinking about it for a while. My grandmother was a medium in life before she passed. And I feel very connected to her when I'm doing this stuff. We have our own connection to source, our own connection to spirituality. They looked kind of different, but she was probably one of the most, if not the most important person in my life to me. And so I've dabbled for a long time. I've been doing tarot for a really long time, and I just felt like it was time. It was time to start a channel. So here I am. If this reading ends up resonating with you, like I said, this is a brand new channel. So any likes, shares, subscribes are so helpful, and I'm so grateful for any of those. If it resonated with you and you want to leave me a little comment and let me know that it did and what hit, I would love to hear that. That's always super exciting to hear about that and how it just resonates with someone, if it does. I like the fact that you have a lot of, there was one other person that had quite a few birds. Quite a few birds, and it's weird because in the other readings, they were all different birds. So far, it looks like the same bird, which is, I've never noticed that before in this deck. It's all the same bird. At least it looks like the same bird, which is interesting. We'll see if that comes into play at all. I feel like there's one or two, maybe three more cards that need to come out. Also, if you have any questions or if you want to know what decks I'm using, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm thinking about including them in the notes at the bottom underneath in the description. If that is interesting to you, let me know. The deck is being quiet. It doesn't want to pop anymore out. Maybe this is, I feel like this isn't it though. I feel like I'm supposed to get, I feel like there's one or two that still need to come out. Three more. Sometimes it's charging and then they all pop out all at one time. But this, maybe this is it. Maybe we're supposed to pull more oracle for you. Oh, no. It's lying. I was going to say, maybe we're supposed to pull one extra oracle card. Sometimes that's the case too. Oh, there they are. Okay, cool. I was going to say, so you got three more. So that feels right. I feel like that's it, honestly. So I'm going to stop there, and then we're going to pull some oracle. I'm feeling drawn to look at the bottom, the Holly King. That's what you have at the bottom of the deck, which is introspection, solitude, moving in your own path, moving in your own time. That's basically, when it's at the bottom of the deck, for me, that means that's what you don't see coming, or that's the next step that you could potentially see. All right, let's go ahead and start. So the first card that you got is the Six of Wands. There's a couple people who have gotten this, and I've thoroughly mixed this deck. So this is a victory coming in for you. Like we were saying earlier when I got some of your downloads, let me look at that one more time. Yeah, the cornucopia vibe. This feels very much like that. So this is reaping the rewards of a job well done. And you'll notice there's like people celebrating this person. He's got a crown on his head. He's moving through the town. He's celebrating a victory. Okay. So you could start the month of July off very strong because you're hitting a finish line. Whether that's personal, in business, doesn't really matter. You've just been working up to this point, and now people are starting to recognize you for what you've created, what you've achieved. So take time to enjoy that energy. Again, trying not to jump to the next thing, right? So allow for people to, give you props. And feeling that energy of victory for yourself. You've worked really hard for this, whatever it may be. Definitely make sure that you're checking in and you're taking time to recognize that for yourself. And you'll notice this is the first entrar of the little birdie. He's up here, and you'll see him show up a couple of times. I'll try to remember to point him out. But you'll notice he shows up a couple of times in here, actually like 3 times. The next one that you got is the Seven of Pentacles. So the Seven of Pentacles is usually an indication that you've been working really hard towards something for a while. And you're at the very end. And sometimes when we're very close to reaching a goal, we have a tendency to want to rush through it. This card is asking for you to slow down. Continue to keep putting the same quality into whatever it is that you're doing. Don't speed up because you see the finish line and you're just like, oh, I'm so ready for the finish line. I just want to be done with this. Because what ends up happening sometimes in those situations is you've worked really hard so far. You're almost to the point where you're about to receive the victory. And then you rush through the ending and it comes across as people are aware that you rushed at the end. And to be honest with you, could taint the whole project that you're creating, okay? So take time to do just as good of a job on the last few steps as you did on the first few steps and the middle few steps, okay? Don't get too sucked into the idea that, oh, I'm so close. I'm so close. I know that it's like a really strong tendency. We all just want to especially when it's been going for a while, you're just like, I know I do that with music. I produce music. And man, when I've been mixing and mastering to the like nth degree, I get to the point where I'm just like, I just want it to be done. I just want it to be over. But it's at that moment that you gotta slow down and let the final touches create the magic, because you've been working really hard towards something. Don't ruin it by like rushing through the end. That's basically what I'm trying to say with this card. So the next card is the Five of Athemes. So in this particular deck, you have this gentleman here who is sitting at the table, and he's looking at these swords that this gentleman has created. In this particular situation, the man sitting down in front of the swords does not understand the level of craftsmanship that's gone into the work of creating those swords that are on the table. This is a clear indication of a need for self-confidence for you, because someone is potentially trying to undercut the value of what you're creating. It's not that they're being cruel about it, or they're trying to necessarily undercut your value. It's more that they don't understand the value of what you're creating, if that makes sense. So this could be someone maybe in a different line of work from you, but someone you have to check in with, or a different department if you're in that kind of business field, and they have to check your work, but they don't understand the level of like tenacity and the level of like crafting and all of the work that's been going into the thing and creating this gold. Really, they don't understand that it's gold. They're looking at it and they're going, it's copper, it's fine, you did a good job, here's your pay. Okay, so this could be a need to stand up for yourself. If there's a negotiation happening, if you're about to go through potential raise, or being evaluated at work, or you're a craftsperson yourself and someone is undervaluing what your selling price is. Okay, checking in with yourself and reminding yourself of the work that went into it and the value that you put on the piece of artwork or the piece of work that you've been working on, and not getting lost in their interpretation of what the value is. Okay, so that's what this card is asking you to do. The next card is the Eight of Athemes. So in this particular deck, I like the way that it depicts the Eight of Athemes, because it's like it's beautifully done. So if you can see, she's blindfolded. She's walking through this like almost like a dark forest, and there's these apples on the ground, right? So the apples represent wisdom. They represent knowledge. They represent you basically receiving wisdom as a result of things that you've done leading up to this point. And she's continuing to walk forward. She's not stopping, but she doesn't feel like she knows where she's going. This is an indication that you are moving in the right direction. So if you've been looking for a sign, this is your sign. You are correct in the movement that you're making right now. Don't stop. Keep moving. Don't get in your head about it. Even if it feels kind of like, I don't even know. I feel like I don't know if I'm going in the right direction. Or you're not really sure what step to take next. You're making the right decisions. Maybe take a step back, check in with yourself, check in with your gut feeling. But overall, you're moving in the right direction. You're getting that wisdom, okay? But it could be a little challenging. So keep that in mind, that you are moving in the right direction, I think is the big theme of this card. So don't give up. You're really close to finishing. Okay? The last one you have in the top row is the High Priest. So the High Priest in this particular deck is talking all about basically schedules and the way things have always been done. Okay? I'm not a personal fan of that energy typically, because I do things very much the way that I like to do them, which is usually not the way 99% of the world does them. So it can come across sometimes like I'm being rebellious against authority or whatever. And sometimes it is that, but more often than not, it's like the typical way that people do things doesn't work for me. In this particular situation, whatever it is that you're thinking about right now, you're supposed to go with the conventional way things are being done. Even if you feel like that doesn't make sense, if your gut is telling you that it doesn't make sense, maybe try it your way first. There's nothing, I mean, if it's not going to hurt anybody. But this is asking you to potentially work with schedules of the community, work with things that have always been done in the way that they've always been done. Okay? So if you're feeling like that need to like rebel against the system, it might not be your best bet when it comes to whatever it is that you're thinking about when I'm showing you this card. Hopefully you know exactly what that is. And if you've been feeling yourself needing to fight against it, obviously, like, you got to do what you got to do. If it still makes sense to even, like, don't listen to me. Like, if it feels like that doesn't make any sense for you, then don't do it that way. I'm with you most of the time. I'm just giving you what the card is saying. Also, you'll notice there's a little bird. He's floating. And he was also on the Seven of Pentacles. I told you I would show you. So he's there too. He's this like little brown bird. So he is coming to say hello. All right, we are on the bottom row. So the next one is the Four of Cups. So with the Four of Cups, she has 3 cups ahead of her, in front of her. And she has a gentleman who is in the doorway, who is on his way to bring her another cup. But this card is all about discontent. It's talking about you feeling, and you can see it in her face. She's not happy with what's going on, okay? But she's getting so focused on the discontent that she's forgetting to look at the gentleman bringing her this other opportunity that's coming in. And sometimes we get so caught up in what's not working, or what feels like the ick, or, you know, just feels like not fun, or just, you know, essentially what's not working, that we don't look around, continue to look for other opportunities that might come in, and we might miss them as a result. Okay, so this is asking you to, it's okay to feel discontent, but don't get stuck in that energy, and be aware that there's always opportunities. There's always things coming in. Okay, every day is a new opportunity. Also, I would like to point out that there's this little dragonfly at the top of this card. They represent transformation. So in the witchy community, we call it alchemizing. Sometimes you feel a certain thing, and then you alchemize that feeling and you move it through your body so that you can create something else out of it. So if you're feeling like anger or shame or frustration, sometimes you can alchemize it and move it through your body by doing some creative work and getting it out of your system. Okay, so this transformational energy with the dragonfly feels very much like trying to alchemize that feeling of discontent that you might be having in whatever way makes sense for you. Okay, so that you don't miss the opportunity, because that's the main feeling of this card. The next, it's funny you got 4-4. So the next one that you got is the Four of Pentacles. In this particular representation of the Four of Pentacles, you have a gentleman, again, outside of a door, and the door is closed. So in this last one where the door was like open, it's kind of fresh and free, and there's still being, even though there's a door, it's still half open. With this one, it's almost like there's like this like lattice in front of this person. And in this particular representation, there might be somebody who's vying for your attention that is trying to distract you. It also could just be that you're being very frugal with your time, your money, your energy, and somebody wants in, and you're saying, this is my sacred space in my home. I'm hanging up these pentacles because this is what feels right to me at the time. So go away. This could literally be somebody coming to your door, but it also could just be in the form of someone seeking your energy. That could either be an energy vampire or someone that doesn't have your best interest at heart. They have their best interest at heart. Okay. I like that it's backed up, that symbology is backed up with this tiny little, I don't know if you could see him, this tiny little turtle down here. So the turtle in this particular representation is all about a turtle at any point can just pull all of his hands and head in and be back in his home. And he can go into himself so that he is protected by the outer world, to create this sacred space for himself within his shell, and not letting outside forces into that inner shell. We can't literally go into the shell. I mean, we could, I guess, if you wanted to find a way in there. Never recommend doing that to a little tiny animal. But you get what I'm saying, right? So he is kind of like going into this like almost hermit kind of a feel. But ultimately he's doing it for self-protection. And the shell is a representation of the protection. And then you have this gentleman who's in his home, which is his sacred space, and that's his protection. So if you have someone who's trying to vie for your time, your energy, your resources, and in your gut, it feels like, I don't know if this person has the best of intentions, be aware that that energy could be surrounding the situation. So it's okay to say no. Have boundaries. This is all about boundaries. This card could be summed up in the word boundary. Okay? I think that's interesting because the next card that you have is the King of Athmes, which it's very, very clear-cutted. He's very logical, sometimes scientific, and he is working. Sometimes this comes about in the form of some sort of contract that you might be signing, or some sort of work that you might be doing that you need an okay on, kind of like we were talking about before. And this is asking you to get clarity. This gentleman has a lot of clarity. You might be working in scientific work, potentially. Getting your checks and everything in a row, all your ducks in a row, making sure all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed is really important with this. Same thing with any legal matters. Obviously, seek an attorney. I'm just giving you a tarot reading, so go at your own discretion. But just double checking everything, looking over all the fine details, making sure that everything looks legit. Okay, that's the main meaning from this card. I love too that there's these, like, you might not be able to see this, but there's like little fireflies outside. That feels very like July energy for me. The fireflies are out right now if you are in a place where fireflies show up, and they're so magical to me. It kind of reminds me again of like the broom energy in the very beginning with the magic, like the little sprinkles of magic. This feels very much like, sometimes the King of Swords is very like cut to the chase and getting rid of anything that doesn't serve. So again, it's like another form of like clearing the path so that the right things can come in, if that makes sense. Making sure everything is working, and nothing is falling apart, nothing's falling to the wayside. Okay. The next card that you have is the Ten of Wands. Okay, so in this particular deck, she's moving up the mountain. She's carrying all these sticks. In the main tarot, they're carrying wands. Okay, this tells me that you are so close to a finish line on something, but it's getting really tough. And kind of like what we were saying with the Seven of Pentacles earlier, don't get so caught up in the fact that you're so close that you start to do less desirable work. Okay? You're so close. Be grateful that you're that close. Get clarity if you need it, but ultimately keep moving because you're so close. Again, also above it, so this is the underlying energy. Above it was the Eight of Athmes. Remember, she's like walking through the forest with the apples. She's just continuing to move forward. Okay, that is what this is asking you to do. It's been a tough road, but you're super close to the finish line, so just keep on going and try not to give up, okay? Also, I like to point out sometimes if I feel drawn to do so, and I do right now, there's this tiny little squirrel down here. He's a reminder to remember the fun, remember the joy. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed by the fact that it's just a lot, okay? Try to take a moment to take a breath, sit back, and remind yourself of why you do the thing. Whatever this tough thing is, why are you doing it? What is it that makes sense to you? What brings you joy in this situation? If there isn't anything, maybe that's why it's so hard. That might be part of it. Maybe you're not meant to do it anymore. Maybe you need to have more of this King of Athmes, this King of Swords energy where you cut it out of your life. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. You decide. It's up to your discretion. But this little squirrel guy is a reminder to find the fun if you can. Even when it seems hard, there's always a way. Trying to find little things that can make you feel joyous while you're doing it can go a long way. To give you an example, when I'm working on music, I'm getting down to the nitty grit, and I'm like, I was saying, like, I'm almost done with a project, but it's just like, it feels so tedious. Like the stuff that I'm doing, my brain does not work like that. It does not like tedious stuff at all. I like new and interesting things. I don't like tedious little nitpicky stuff. Okay. So what I will do is I will light my favorite incense when I'm feeling that. And it just is a sensory overload. And it reminds me to connect positivity to the thing, because I love creating music to remind myself of why I'm doing it and to sprinkle in a little joy. Again, with that magic feel, right? Sprinkle in a little joy in whatever it is that you're doing, especially when it starts to get hard. And I think you'll be able to make it to the finish line, okay? The second to the last is the scythe. So this is all about balance. I think this is the temperance card in the main tarot cards. So in this particular deck, there is a little cow outside her window, and she's pouring stuff into this cauldron. Okay, so she is working with the elements. There's also the Fae are up here supporting her. And again, creating magic in her home. And this is all about finding balance. So basically what we were just talking about, the Ten of Wands, this is lighting the incense, baby. If you need to light a candle to make it feel more magical, if you want to have some coffee, make some tea, whatever feels comfortable for you, whatever feels exciting or makes it just a little more magical, I think will help bring balance to the situation and not make it feel so heavy. Okay? That's the main energy I'm getting from that. The next one, and the final card before we pull your last cards, is the Two of Pentacles. Again, this is all about balance. This gentleman is balancing two pentacles, okay? Which is earth energy, which is you. You are finding a way, despite this storm that's brewing. He's built a barn, okay? There's a little fox in the background. And that fox is a representation of strategy. He's being strategic. He's already built the barn. The barn is there. So when it starts to pour, he has a place to go. You are finding the balance even when it feels out of control, or when it feels heavy, or when it feels difficult. This is telling me and confirming that you're figuring it out and you're finding the balance. And he's got a smile on his face because he knows he's safe. He knows he's set himself up for success. So this is a reminder that you are in this state, especially at the end of the month of July. Okay? So that is what I have for you for the Green Witch Tarot. So I think because we had this little bird come out, when the animals kind of are speaking to me more than usual in a reading, I always have this book next to me for bibliomancy, which is basically just flipping to a page, a random page, and then reading whatever it is, and then that will kind of add to the overall feel of the reading, and then we'll choose an oracle as well. But I'm going to do bibliomancy with the animal spirit guides. This is a really cool book. It goes into a lot of symbolism for animals. I work with animals a lot, so they're like one of my channels for things. So let's see what you get. The gecko. Geckos are cool too for business. They're actually representation somewhere. I think it's on the King of Wands in this deck. The gecko shows up, and it's a reminder. It's a salamander. Close enough. Close enough. It's basically business. It's very like fire energy, which is weird because I would think that a gecko would be more earth energy. You could look at it as earth energy, but it's all about your business and getting grounded in that, but having that tenacity and that fire. Okay. So the gecko says, pay close attention to your dreams, record them in a dream journal, and spend a few minutes each morning contemplating and writing about their meaning. When you're in the midst of conflict, be clear with your communication and strong about what you are and are willing to do, what you are not and are willing to do. That feels very King of Swords, like getting clarity, but being clear in your own communication and letting people know like what you're worth. Also important. When you've tried and tried to get through to someone or resolve a problem and it's not working, it's best to detach and move away from the situation. So again, that clearing energy. Don't hesitate to speak up if you have something to say, and don't automatically hold back for fear of others' disapproval. Again, very much King of Swords energy. It's all about the communication. Regarding the task or project you're involved in, stick with it to completion. 10 of Wands. No matter how you're feeling, you'll reap rewards when you're done. Singing or chanting will be very healing for you. Seek your spiritual nourishment by going inside yourself and dwelling there for a while. That reminds me very much of in the very, very beginning. Remember we were talking about that like hermit energy in the very, very, very beginning? It's the Holly King in this particular deck, but this is hermit energy in the main tarot. It's all about going internal so you can find your own path, okay? So that kind of sums it all up and brings it full circle, I feel. So that is the gecko. Also sea lizard, but I feel like gecko is what you were supposed to get from that. I like the fact too that it said singing or chanting will be very healing for you. Again, it seems like there's a lot going on in the throat chakra for you this month. A lot of communication, a lot of speaking up for yourself, telling people, reminding people of your worth within reason, putting up boundaries and telling people no when you need to. It seems like very important this month. I am, it's funny that we're talking about so many animals because I am being drawn to my animal spirit oracle. It's the Wild Unknown. So this is like the guidebook for it. So I'm going to be pulling from that for you today as your final card, unless two pop out or a couple pop out. And this will kind of wrap up the reading for you. If anything resonated with you during this reading, I would love to hear from you. If you would like to come back and be a misfit and help me grow this channel, I would love to hear from you as a comment or have a subscribe or a like. And let me know in the comments if anything resonated with you. It seems like you're going to have a really solid month. You're going to see some victories happening, and you're doing your best to like work through the end of a very difficult ending to a project. And you're standing up for yourself to show people, hey, I worked really hard for this. Like, this is worth more than maybe your experience. Like, it's worth more than you believe that it is, maybe because they don't know the worth of it. Okay, so just because they don't know the worth doesn't mean that it's not worth anything. Okay. I usually like to go with pop outs, but if we keep going and I don't get one, I'm just going to have to go intuitively and pick a card. I don't want to waste any of your time. No. Are you serious? Oh, that's so crazy. You got the lizard. What? That's crazy. Okay, I love it when that happens. What did we just pull? Did we pull the lizard? It was definitely, I know we mentioned the salamander. Was it the lizard that I literally, it wasn't the iguana. LM, or was it the gecko? It was the gecko. And then it said also see lizard. And I didn't because I was like, no, I feel like this is the energy that we need. And then I went into the explanation of the salamander. And what's funny is lizard came out anyway. So that feels like from my guides that, no, honey, Ace, you're supposed to read lizard to these guys. Like, listen to what we're telling you. No, they always catch me up if I'm not in alignment. They remind me, hey, no, this is why we did this. That's so funny. I cannot believe that that came out. That's insane to me. Okay. That's so cool. All right. So, instinctual, sensitive to the subtle, and dreamer. Again, with the dreams. You need to maybe keep a dream journal this month. Maybe that might give you some insight. Okay, the lizard is an expert in the realm of sensory perception, as if it has a sixth sense. The lizard hears what is yet to be spoken and sees what is yet to manifest. Although this is an amazing gift, it can easily wear the lizard down. Big crowds, lots of travel, or overstimulation will drain a lizard of their magical essence. Again, with the magic. This card is an indication to pull back from the bright lights and big city and return to the inner artist who's been whispering your name. When in balance, artistic, telepathic, spiritual. When out of balance, elusive, non-committal, and flaky. To bring into balance, a creative project. So I think somewhere along the lines I was talking about taking time to transmute, remember? And you might need to do that to kind of like move through the energy, to transmute the energy. That seems like it's coming up very clear for you. So whether you're an artist or not, doesn't really matter. Finding something that seems fun for you this month, again, injecting some of that joy, injecting some of that magic, some of that like playful energy. It could be as simple as finger painting. I know that sounds insane, but sometimes some of the most healing stuff you could ever do is checking in with your inner child and going, oh yeah, they kind of want to do this. Maybe it's something you've never tried before, you've always wanted to do, but you've never given yourself permission to do. The lizard is saying, please, fam, please take that part of yourself seriously, but not too seriously. So I hope this resonated with you. I hope you have a magical July. It seems like you have some magic headed your way. Again, clear out anything that doesn't make sense. Try to find the magic in the small things, and maybe try experimenting with a dream journal or finding little things that like bring the magic into the work that you're doing to get yourself across the finish line. Seems to be the main takeaways from this. I hope this resonated. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Right now I'm doing monthlies. I'm hoping to do more in the future, and I might be doing dailies. We're gonna see how that goes. But if you subscribe, you won't miss anything, and click the little notification bell. And anytime I upload, like I said, I'm going to start in July, and hopefully I'll be able to get some, like a daily on short form. So if that sounds interesting to you, let me know. And I look forward to seeing you next month for August. See you guys later. Bye.